The sun rose slowly over Pine Hollow, its golden rays spilling across clapboard houses and gravel lanes, warming the sagging fences that framed each tidy yard. It was a morning that felt pulled from a simpler era, fragrant with blooming jasmine, damp earth, and the faint, savory drift of bacon frying in someone's skillet. On her front porch, Clara Bennett, 74, small but fierce, sat in her creaking rocker, a sweating glass of lemonade in one hand, a smudged newspaper in the other. Her glasses perched on her nose as she scanned the headlines, the porch's flower baskets swaying gently, heavy with blooms that brushed the steps. Pine Hollow hadn't changed in decades. Saturdays meant lawnmowers humming, kids hawking lemonade, and neighbors trading gossip over picket fences. Trouble belonged elsewhere, beyond the cornfields that swallowed the horizon by dusk. Across the street, old Mr. Larson tended his tomatoes, straw hat tipped low. Down the road, little Sophie Grant and her brothers dragged a card table to the curb, their lemonade stand a study in childish determination. Clara smiled, her heart light. Another good day, she thought. Another quiet morning. But peace is fragile, a soap bubble perfect until it bursts. Clara knew storms didn't always come with thunder. Sometimes they slipped in under clear skies, silent and cruel. As she rocked, lemonade cool against her palm, she didn't see the storm approaching, not a tempest, but something colder, more human. It was already crossing into Pine Hollow, boots crunching up her gravel path. The sound hit first heavy, deliberate steps, alien against the town's soft rhythm. Clara lowered her paper, squinting into the sun. Two men strode toward her porch, dressed in what passed for uniforms, dark shirts, cargo pants, boots caked in road dust. Sunglasses hid their eyes, but their mouths were hard, their steps arrogant. Badges glinted on their chests, stamped with HOA enforcement. Bold but off cheap, crooked. Clara straightened, her lemonade forgotten. She didn't stand, didn't speak, just watched, her pulse quickening beneath her cotton dress. The men didn't knock or nod. They stopped at the porch's edge, boots planted wide, and barked orders like she was a child caught misbehaving. Property violation. The shorter one snapped. Grass too long. The taller one added, flipping a clipboard. Unauthorized mailbox, improper trash bin. Their voices were loud, hollow with fake authority, dripping with disrespect. Clara blinked, puzzled. The words were nonsense. Pine Hollow had no HOA. She set her paper down, her voice steady as she'd used with a wayward grandchild. There's no homeowners association here, she said, firm and clear. The taller man, later named Carl Vance, tilted his head, a slow, ugly smile curling his lips, one side higher than the other. It wasn't a neighbor's smile, not even a bureaucrat's. It was the grin of a predator sizing up prey. Behind his sunglasses, Clara felt a sharp, cold prick of danger, like the first raindrop before a downpour. The air thickened, Pine Hollow's calm tearing at the seams. This wasn't a mistake. Something was wrong, deeply wrong, and it was only beginning. It happened in a flash. One moment, Clara sat tall, chin high, unshaken by their nonsense. The next, Carl's hand whipped out, a brutal arc that cracked across her cheek. The sound sliced the morning's warmth, louder than it had any right to be, a knife through the town's heart. Her newspaper fluttered down, pages scattering on the steps. For a heartbeat, everything stopped: the rocker, the breeze, even the birds in the oaks. The slap wasn't just pain, it was violation, a stranger's hand spitting on the dignity Clara had carried through 74 years of storms, wars, and loss. The men stood rigid, daring the world to react. Dust hung still in the heat. The air held its breath. Clara had faced worse: roofs rattled by gales, fevers that burned through nights, grief that hollowed her bones. But this, on her own porch, under a bright sun, was different. It struck at the soul of Pine Hollow itself, a place where doors stayed unlocked and respect was law. Across the street, Mrs. Hargrove, 82, cane in hand, screamed, her voice piercing the silence like shattered glass. "What have you done?" she cried, sharp and raw, a call to the town's core. Windows slid open. Doors creaked. Neighbors peered on mothers pulling kids inside, old men straightening from their gardens, eyes narrowing. Whispers spread like wildfire. Did he just? Was that Clara? The impostors puffed their chests, Carl while VYing his clipboard. Official HOA business, he barked. Fines for noncompliance. His partner added, spitting words like bullets, fines, arrests, citations. They mistook the silence for fear, the stillness for surrender. But Pine Hollow wasn't cowed. What they saw, women clutching aprons, men wiping sweat, teens leaning on railings, wasn't weakness. It was something older, slower, gathering like a storm. A righteous fury, not reckless but deliberate, born of a need to shield their own. Every clenched fist, every sharp glance, whispered one vow: Saw not here. Not to one of us. Not today. Saw. The screen door creaked, a sound woven into countless lazy afternoons, now a warning bell. Out stepped Henry Bennett, barefoot, his callous feet steady on the porch boards. Faded jeans hung on his lean frame, a worn t-shirt clinging to his shoulders. His silver hair caught the light, his weathered face carved with quiet authority. In his hand, low but firm, gleamed a Colt Python .357 revolver, its steel flashing like a blade. It wasn't waved or brandished just there, as much a part of Henry as his steady gaze. The world leaned in. The cicadas fell silent. Henry stepped onto the top step, the wood groaning, and fixed his eyes on the men who'd defiled his home. You boys got 5 seconds, he said, voice low, rough with years but solid as stone. To turn around and get off my property. No shouts, no threats, just truth, delivered with the calm of a man who'd made peace with what might follow. The impostors faltered. Carl's smirk faded, his clipboard sagging. His partner swallowed hard, throat bobbing. They'd expected fear, not these of force, not of anger but of resolve, unshakable and cold. Carl shifted, glancing at his partner. They hesitated. And that was their mistake. Henry didn't warn twice. The Colt roared, a thunderclap that shook birds from trees and set dogs barking blocks away. The recoil snapped up his arm, a kick he barely felt. The bullet hit the concrete between their boots, a precise line drawn in shattered stone. Dust exploded, coating their polished shoes. They stumbled back, then crumpled face down on the porch, arms splayed, trembling not from the shot but from the truth it carried. They'd crossed the wrong man in the wrong town. A voice rang out, saw sheriffs coming. Saw then another. Footsteps grew louder. Pine Hollow was waking, rising like a tide too long held back. Henry didn't move, the revolver loose at his side, his stance easy, as if guarding his porch was just another chore. Gunpowder's sharp tang mixed with jasmine and broken concrete. His face was unreadable, etched by decades of toil and loss, showing not anger but certainty, a man who didn't start fights but ended them. Time stretched taut, each second pounding like a drum. 8 minutes later, sirens wailed, shattering the humid air. Squad cars screeched down Elm Street, lights flashing red and blue. Deputy Rivera hit the ground first, hand on his holster. Sheriff Hayes followed, tall and grim, his hat shadowing his eyes. They scanned the scene, 2 men cuffed on the porch, a battered truck nearby, and Henry, calm, the Colt at his side. No questions were needed, the air told the story. Rivera cuffed the impostors, their bravado gone, faces pale. From their truck, deputies pulled fake HOA papers, forged citations, lists of elderly targets. No weapons, just lies meant to bully. Sheriff Hayes studied the documents, jaw tight, then faced Henry. For a long moment, they locked eyes, 2 men who knew the weight of duty. Hayes nodded, slow and deliberate, respect in the gesture. Henry lowered the Colt, finger off the trigger, and nodded back. No words, just understanding. At the hospital, Clara sat upright, a bruise darkening her cheek, a mark of violence but also of strength. Doctors marveled at her spirit. She smiled, unshaken. I've seen worse, she told Deputy Rivera, her grin defiant. Back in Pine Hollow, a quiet shift took hold. No parades, just a silent vow. Hand-painted signs sprouted, saw no trespassers. No fakes. no mercy. Saw pride, fierce and stubborn, bound the town tighter. Henry faced no charges. Sheriff Hayes stood on the courthouse steps, voice clear. An armed man defending his family, that's justice here. Word spread, a wildfire of truth. By Sunday, Pine Hollow had changed. Clara's smile, once gentle, now carried pride, a woman lifted by her people. Henry's Colt rested inside, silent but ready, a promise kept. The story grew, not just memory but legend, a truth woven into Pine Hollow's soul. Here, family was more than blood. It was standing together, doing right, no matter the cost. And as Clara rocked on her porch, lemonade in hand, the town smiled with her, its heart unbroken, stronger with every telling.